Hi, I'm Katie, Flower Mama, and I'm so excited to teach you this bouquet making lesson. Thank you for your support in me as well as supporting yourself in learning this information. I am confident that with this knowledge you'll be able to create really beautiful, gorgeous bouquets of your own and sell them for what they're worth. So, for a little overview of this course, I'm going to talk about the setup, how important it is to get everything in order before you start making your bouquets. I'm going to talk about flower prep, how to properly condition your flowers before making the bouquets. And we'll talk about bouquet ingredients, certain categories that flowers fall under and which ones you need to make sure to have in order to make a really good bouquet. And then we'll talk about 2 ways to assemble your bouquets, then wrapping bouquets. Lastly, we'll cover pricing of bouquets. Before we dive into making our bouquets, it's important we set up our space. If you're going to be working outside, try to make your bouquets in the cooler morning hours or after the sun has set, and definitely in the shade. Alternatively, you may want to make them inside, or if you have a little studio that's air conditioned, that's best. With these flowers and these bouquet ingredients, I've bought them yesterday and I bought them in bunches of 10, and it's important that after you buy your flowers to condition them properly. And now what does that mean? It means stripping all of the leaves and the side shoots off of your flower product. So I always set aside time to do this before I start making the bouquets, just so you want to streamline the process. You want to do all the stripping of the leaves and the side shoots so that when you put your bouquets together, it is more streamlined and effortless. And I did this with most of the product already, but I left a couple of on just so you could see. These little side shoots on this green mist Ami get really wilty, so I strip them off. And it's good too to have a crate or something to clip all of your stems and leaves and everything into. Unless you are working outside or in a studio and you don't mind sweeping up afterwards. If you're inside, you can use your sink for that. Just clear out the basin of your sink. So I've stripped all of the leaves and side shoots off most of this product already. And then I go ahead and I recut the bottoms of the stems and I place them in fresh water with floral solution. And I hydrate them overnight before doing the bouquet arranging. The floral solution that I like to use is this stuff. It's called Vita One Step, and this is an all-in-one hydrating and holding solution for flowers. It's really wonderful because it is biodegradable and certified for organic use. The Floral Life stuff that's powdered cannot make those claims, but that's also an option and that works well too. And so if you do want to order this, you can go online and they have great customer service. You just give them a call and they'll ship you a box. This is a gallon size. It'll be 4 gallons plus this little container, which is the measuring for filling your buckets. And this is a really great tool because you measure 2 capfuls by squeezing, and it's up to 1 ounce there, and so it's 2 ounces per gallon of water. And now you want to set up also clean buckets for your bouquets. Once you make them, rubber band them and wrap them, you need them to go in clean buckets of water with floral solution. This is especially important if you're bringing your bouquets to a grocery store, somewhere where they're going to be in their water for a longer period of time. If you're moving through your bouquets really fast, fresh water is just fine. So I didn't yet add this to my buckets. I'm going to do that now. you'll see I'm only adding 1 cap per this bucket because these are 2-gallon buckets and I'm only filling them up 1/3 of the way. So if I fill them up half of the way, that would be 1 gallon and I'd want to do 2 of these. But I'm only filling my buckets 1/3 of the way because I don't want the water to splash around and get the wrapping wet after we've wrapped our bouquets and put them in. So you can see the water level. It's just 1/3. Alright, so our buckets are ready. Now it's important to get our wrapping paper ready for wrapping the bouquets as well. These are what we're going to be wrapping the bouquets in. This is brown recycled craft paper, which is also recyclable and compostable. These are 18 by 24 sheets that I get from Uline. And I like these because they're versatile. You could buy already pre-made bouquet sleeves that you just drop the bouquets in, but I like the versatility of this, making it whatever size I want for the bouquet. So we're gonna make these ahead of time. And I start by taking a corner and wrapping it here. And then I take this other corner, slide it up here, and pull that over. So we have several to make. So I'll just keep doing this. This corner comes up here. Reaches that corner, and then this just folds up. Now these are what we're going to use to wrap our bouquets. So you want to set aside your pile wherever you're going to wrap them. So our wrapping paper is ready and our rubber bands are set next to the area. We've got our clippers nearby and soon we're ready to make our bouquets. But I want to talk about the components and the ingredients to making a good bouquet. So there's 6 different components. The first would be focal flowers. It's important to have a nice big disc-like shaped flower that's going to be the star of the bouquet, more the center of attention. And so for these I'm using sunflowers. These are quite gorgeous and at the peak of their bloom cycle this time of year. So these will be our focal flowers. Next, you'll want to have some supportive flowers. Supportive flowers are ones that support the focal flower themselves in that they're also usually disc shaped and very beautiful, but maybe they're just not as big, not as showy as the focal flower. And so for the supportive flowers, we're going to use these peach zinnias and these rudbeckias, black-eyed Susans. So these are our 2 supportive flowers. And it is important to note that some of these categories can go back and forth in that you could make a bouquet in which your zinnias and or your rudbeckia are the focal flowers, and then you would use a smaller flower to support them, let's say like a straw flower, something like that. But in this case, the sunflowers are taking the show, so these are the supportive stars. And then next is filler. This is anything that's going to take up space in a bouquet. So here we have Ami, green mist, and peach status. Oftentimes these flowers are ones that have a bunch of little flowers in one, and so they're going to help fill out the bouquet a bit more. Next we have foliage, and so for foliage I'll be using this mahogany red hibiscus. And then the next category is spike. You want something that's going to bring height to an arrangement, so this is amaranth. And then we also have these broom corns. So this is going to stand above the rest of the flowers and give us some of that height element. Lastly, we have wispy. So I've got these cresspedia, also called billy balls, and these white Fama scabiosas. So the scabiosas, I like to think of wispy flowers as any ones that are going to like stand above the rest and give it that kind of airy quality, give it a little bit of movement. And now the cresspedia won't give a lot of movement, but these will stand above the bouquet and give added interest. You can see I've made a bouquet here, and you can see all of the elements playing out together. We've got our focal flower, the sunflower, star of the show, and these supporting flowers around it. And then here's our spikes standing above everything else, and our wispy flowers also are kind of above the supportive flowers, as well as the filler flowers taking up space with this really nice foliage around everything else. You can see these little buttons stand above everything else. And so we'll talk about this as we're arranging, but you can see there's various heights to everything here, and keeping your flowers and foliage at different heights provides a lot more interest to your bouquet. And I'm going to give you examples of focal flowers, supportive flowers, filler, foliage, spikes, and wispy flowers. So if you're a grower, these lists will be super helpful for you to see the various flowers under all the categories, and it could help you plan your farm or garden for making really wonderful bouquets with all of the essential ingredients. And so I'm going to talk about two ways to assemble your bouquets. One is just pulling stems out of a bucket, and then the next is having everything laid out on the table in front of you. Pulling stems out of the bucket is ideal if you're working when it's kind of hot and you want your flowers to stay hydrated just a little bit longer. For insurance, it's not as efficient as the other method. It takes a bit longer, but you give yourself more room to add in the design elements to your bouquets. When I'm planning to assemble my bouquets, I like to think of the ingredients ahead of time for when I'm ordering my flowers, or if you're a grower, this is helpful so you know harvest quantities. Basically, we're going to be making 10 bouquets. I actually already made 2, so we'll be making 8 in this video, but I plan to make 10, and I buy bunches in stems of 10. So a standard bunch comes 10 stems to a bunch. It's just pretty standard when you buy it from a grower, or if you're a grower yourself and selling bunches of flowers. We do it in bunches of 10. So it makes things a little easier to plan in with bunches of 10 in mind, and that's why I chose 10 bouquets. So that I know for each bouquet I'm going to be using 1 stem of amaranth. Here are 20 stems, or a little less because I already made some bouquets, but essentially 20 stems. I'll be using 2 of these in each bouquet. Same with the Scabiosa, 20 stems. I'll be using 2 of these in each bouquet. So it just makes the planning a bit easier if you have an idea of your ingredients and stem counts ahead of time for ordering or harvesting. And most bouquets that I make are standard around 15 stems, and these bouquets we'll be making today have about 17 stems in them. With this bucket method, I like to start first with a foliage and a filler. So I just set them side by side, and then I grab my focal because I'll be building around that, and I just set that up in there as well. And I'll grab more filler. So I'm going to take status now and just set that in there as well, maybe a couple stems to make it more full. Then I'll come with a supportive flower and arrange those 2 kind of on the side. My next supportive flower, these are actually in branching stems, so I'm going to use 1 branching stem here. Get that sitting up top. I'm going to make a spike happen over here. And so you can see I'm just kind of like building on one side of the bouquet. I might turn it a little bit, get a sense looking at it. That up there, and I have 1 more status to use because remember we budgeted 3 per bouquet. So I'm going to put that in there. Extra leaves. And I have 1 more foliage to use as well. So that's going to sit in there. And now the last thing we need to do are our 3 crespedias. So these are going to sit kind of higher atop all the flowers. I might actually look through and thread this one through. Get it sitting there. We'll look at the bouquet from this side and then set this one here. Alright, so I feel satisfied with that. Now I have these really long stems, and so I'm going to take my clippers and I'm going to find kind of where the shortest stem is and let that be my guide. The shortest stems are right here, so that's pretty good. This is pretty a long stem bouquet. And I'm just going to give these a fresh cut. Rubber band. And then wrap. Start with the foliage, grab a filler. Now these mahogany hibiscus are known for wilting pretty quickly when it's hot out, but with a fresh recut of their stems and these bouquets going in the cooler, they'll be just fine, and they'll be even more perfect in a vase on someone's table once they're home in their destination. you can see as I'm arranging these, I'm making sure to get the various height things down. These two supportive flowers are kind of at the same height, and so I made the rudbeckia sit higher than them because the added height is going to give visual interest to your bouquet. That's also what these spikes do. The spikes give that height element. The wispy flowers kind of stand above all else. Looking pretty good there. We need our broom corn for height. And crustbedia. Our foliage and our filler, the focal flower. And for these bouquets, the sunflower was the main source of inspiration here, and I really like how yellow and peach look together, so I chose the salmon-y colored supported zinnias to be used. This one's a little bright. Let's do this one. And so the status especially is wonderful because it marries the two colors together. There are these little yellow flecks inside the peach, and so having this particular status as a filler really helps blend the peach and the yellow together. And then I like this hibiscus foliage because it plays off nicely with the center of the sunflower with the darkness there, and there's even a bit of purple tone in there, and so the kind of purpley spike amaranth also works well with these colors. The white, of course, is just beautiful in and of itself. White works with almost any palette. I'd say that one is looking pretty good. So, last one with the bucket method. You can see this method takes a bit of time because you're essentially designing in your hand as you go along and really repositioning things and making sure they are where you want it to be. Again, I'm sticking 2 of these status together. These branches are a little bit low, so taking those off. I'll come in with a spike. That'll be fun. Some movement to the bouquet. Really long. One more status to use. Just gonna fill it right there. Hold on, not done yet. Right. Sometimes you gotta check the height levels. Make sure there's various heights. Now, if you've created a bouquet that you particularly like, it's a good time to do a little photo op before you wrap your bouquet. So if you have anywhere in your vicinity a blank wall space, any color but just a flat wall space, or you could easily make one, like this board here is just painted white, plywood board. And before you cut the stems, you want to do this. Unless your stems are really long, you can cut some of the really long guys off. And then just position it against the board there. And snap a couple of photos. For Instagram, social media. And then you can resume. Oh yeah, these stems weren't cut down all the way yet. Make sure your sticker roll is nearby. So you close the wrap with a sticker. Alright, so for laying the flowers on the table, ideally again you're working in a cool location, cool time of day, inside your air-conditioned house, one of those things, so that the flowers will do their best. And also, this is why it's important to really hydrate your flowers ahead of time, to have them in the cooler overnight in their hydrating solution, fresh water, so that when you get to bouquet making, they'll be great out of water for a little while. Because I'm just going to take these out of the bucket and lay them down on the table. And now I'm laying these flowers in the order that I want to assemble the bouquet. Now again, this is the fastest, most efficient bouquet making method, and you'll see. I like to arrange the sunflowers after the mist. And so these flowers, if conditioned properly, will be totally fine out of water, laying on the table while you make your bouquets. This method is really great if you have a lot of bouquets to make at once, because you just want to be efficient and streamline and go down the process. If you are making a lot of bouquets at once, let's say like 30 bouquets, I would do just piles for 10 bouquets at a time, just so you're not overwhelming your space with piles of flowers. So you don't need all your product out at one time, but for this video, since we're only doing 4, that's what's happening. To make some more space. Alright, so I've got them in the order that I like to make the bouquets. You can see I like starting with the foliage and the filler and then getting that focal in there to build around it. Some more filler, the supportive flowers, and then I like putting in the spikes and the wispies go last. And so this process should be a lot more streamlined, because really you're able to just grab and assemble. And I want to turn the bouquet as I'm assembling so that I get all parts of it. I know most of these were branching, but these are single stems, so I'm just putting the single stems in there, 3 of them. Again, turning the bouquet. You can kind of see how I'm holding this bouquet. I'm holding it down. I'm not paying attention to designing it per se. I'm literally just turning and placing product on. And then I might choose to flip it up and see how I did. I can see some things need a little bit of height adjustment, so I will personally spend a couple seconds doing that, but you don't even have to. It is pretty as it is. So we're going to cut the stems. Put the rubber band on. When I was at my fastest, this process would take about 1 minute and 30 seconds. I haven't timed myself in a while, but it would be fun. So let's see where I'm at right now. Boy, I'm rusty. See, I just want to design them so bad. 1 minute 29 seconds. All right, and I had a little hiccup with the rutabaga even. So yeah, so you can see this process is a lot faster and more streamlined. Next up. All right, last one. Now for this part, I want to show you how to gift wrap a bouquet. This is if you are going to wrap a bouquet at market for someone to take home, or if you are delivering a bouquet to someone, you'll want to wrap it like this. I get out my little paper that I'm going to use to wet and put at the bottom of the stems and a little baggie to put around it. Now, if this is a gift, which sometimes I get these inquiries, I will write a little note. And so I keep this in notes. And you'll write your little message on here. I've got a hole punch. Stamp the corner. And we'll take your ribbon, which is going to tie around the bouquet, and thread that through. You want to make sure you're using a ribbon cutting scissors for ribbon, nice and sharp. So set that aside. And so now this is good for transporting your bouquet at going home, like if you're at the market or a festival. This is how I wrap them for my customers, and then also for gifts. So you want to get the stems all covered in this nice wet paper towel. Make sure your paper doesn't fly away. Put them in the little baggie. You don't really need to rubber band the bag, just as long as you twist it tight, because the paper is going to hold it. And you want to line up the bouquet so where there's at the tip, at the corner, where that's just peeking out above the top part of your bouquet. And take the bottom corner and fold it in, like right up to where the bag is and the stems, leaving a couple inches of space here, because that's going to be a reinforcement that goes over the bottoms of the stems. And you really just tuck and fold it over. And then if I'm at a market and people just want to take this bouquet home, I might just put a rubber band around here, but for a gift, I'll have my note written on this side, and I'll lay that on the back, and I take this ribbon, and the ribbon is what holds the paper together. And so then you've got your gift wrap bouquet. So now we'll talk a little bit about pricing. You've made your gorgeous bouquets, and now what to sell them for. So we're going to do a little flower math. We're going to work backwards and figure out the stem cost of each one of these flowers and foliages in the bouquet. And then from there we'll see what we need to price these bouquets at in order to make a profit. So I've got this notepad here as our bouquet math. I've got our number of bouquet stems, the product we used, how much I paid per bunch, and then what the stem price is for that bouquet. Now the sunflowers, I bought them in 5 stems per bunch, so $8 for 5 stems. That means each stem is $1.60. And the Ani, that was that white filler flower, that was $8 per bunch of 10. I used 1 stem, and so that makes that stem 80 cents. The Status, I used 3 stems in our bouquets, and they were $7 a bunch. So for those 3 stems, it's $2.10. And you can see I just went down with everything else and figured out the stem price. We did 17 stems total in these bouquets, and so for me it cost $13.40 to make these bouquets. So $13.40 is what I paid the growers. That's my my cost. So now in order to make profit on what you just made, we need to do a markup. Markup is standard, and a standard markup is 2.5. So you would take your cost and multiply it by 2.5 and get $33.50. So on average, standard price for this bouquet should be $33.50. Now, we didn't take into consideration my time driving to the 2 different local farms to pick up all of this product, my time spent stripping the leaves, cutting the stems, setting up, all that labor that goes into it. And then if you're a florist, a lot of times florists will add a 30% design fee on top of the markup, because the markup is for the product itself, the flowers. So all that considered, you know, $33.50 is kind of just the base, but I go ahead and charge $35 for one-off deliveries. That means if someone's calling me up for a bouquet to say happy birthday or a sympathy arrangement, and then I have a delivery charge on top of that. But you can see there's really a range in cost depending on how much you want to mark up your product. If you marked it up by 2, it would make these bouquets $26.80. And if you marked it up by 3, let's say you want to include all of your labor and your time and even some of the design element. Some florists just say, let's mark up by 3, and it includes all that. These bouquets would be $40.20. So that's quite a range. And now bouquets are sold for different prices depending on where they're at. Grocery store bouquets, farmers market bouquets, a CSA or one-off deliveries, they're all going to have different prices. If you're selling wholesale to a grocery store, like I used to last year sell bouquets to our local grocery store, and wholesaling them means I sell them less. They're not at retail price. Like, I'm not going to be selling them to the grocery stores for the $33.50. I actually sold bouquets to the grocery store for $9, and they marked it up to $12.99. So that's what the end customer pays, is the $12.99. But you can see, even at the $12.99, that doesn't get us up to the $13.40 it truly costs to put these together. So really, selling bouquets like this at $9 wholesale, you know, you're losing money or just not paying yourself what these flowers are truly worth. And so at the farmer's market, similar thing. At the farmer's market, I see bouquets go for $10 to $15 at best. $10 to $15, while that's higher than what you'd get wholesaling to a grocery store, that's still like not even there. $15 is barely there at, you know, our base price of what it costs to make these flowers. And so, you know, I urge growers, especially if you're a grower, you really need to pay yourself for your product, and that means pricing up your bouquets accordingly, because as a florist, I bought all of this product, and so it's what the flowers are worth, it's what the farmer sold them to me for. But that same farmer could go to the farmer's market and sell this for $10, and here I am making it, trying to make a profit, and I need to sell it at least $33.50 to make a worthwhile profit on these. So you can see there's quite a range. Another avenue to sell flowers through is a CSA. A CSA is, it stands for Community Supported Agriculture. You might be familiar with those veggie boxes that people can get every week from a farm. It's just whatever's in season in your box. You know, there's the same thing with flowers. You can get a bouquet of flowers each week, and the palette changes week to week. The flowers are different week to week. But yeah, weekly flowers, it's a fun thing. I did this for a few years. And right now my CSA is at $30 per bouquet. So I found a nice happy limit somewhere between marking it up 2 and by 2.5. So I charge my clients $30 a bouquet, and they pay for several weeks at a time. And then, like I said, if I'm going to do a one-off delivery, like if someone calls me for a birthday arrangement or a sympathy arrangement, the same bouquet is $35 plus an added delivery charge on top of that. You can see price really varies for bouquets depending on where it's sold, but overall it's really helpful to know the value of the flowers and to price up your work, to price up your bouquets accordingly, in order to get what they're worth. And if you're trying to make money off this particular business venture, then you really need to charge what the flowers are worth. Let's see. So this would be your standard bouquet for $35. That concludes this video. Thank you so much for watching and for your time investing in learning how to make bouquets from me. It's something I truly love and I love to teach. If you have any questions after watching this video, my offer to you is you can email me, and any of your questions that may not have been clarified during this video enough, and I'd be happy to respond and clarify any more of your questions with bouquet making. Thank you so much.